Hello y'all, welcome back. We are doing another new at Sephora today. We are in this season. There are so many new things at Sephora. So today we're gonna be working with the new Fenty Skin SPF. This is the tinted SPF. It's kind of like a tinted moisturizer. Hourglass sent me a PR package with the new powder, which I did already buy, but I'm still grateful. They also sent me a lovely match in their concealer, so I'll be refreshing my memory on that today. I have all of the new highlights and bronzers, the liquid ones from Bareminerals, so we'll probably try and incorporate that today. I also picked up this new Hot Cheeks Velour Blushlighter in Juicy Peach from Fenty. I picked up 4 of these Lawless blushes. One of them will definitely make its way onto my face today, but I am going to be doing a dedicated video comparing this to the rest of my collection because I think that they're great. And finally, as far as new things are concerned, I did get a new shade in the Gisou lip oil. I recently picked up Watermelon Sugar and this is Mango Passion Punch. This is not a first impression on any of this because I did a members only live over on my Patreon, which you can join for just $1. It is a pay what you want kind of structure, but I'm excited to show you all this makeup. Let's go ahead and jump in. We're kicking it off on a weird note because this is the lightest shade in this Fenty Skin tint and it's too dark for me. So that's the lightest shade. It's not terrible, but you'll see when it goes on, it's just too yellowy peach. I end up kind of working against it the entire time. It's very luminous, it's very pretty. I'll show you blended out on my hand what it looks like because I am going to incorporate just a little bit of the Refi concealer today so that I can get a little bit of lightness out of it so that it doesn't just screw the entire look. So that's my hand without it, that's my hand with it. It doesn't look too bad in terms of a shade match, but in my Patreon live, like it just really like set us off on a weird foot. So this is the component that it comes in. Somebody asked if it works if you don't buy that, and the answer is yes. It is possible. I will say that the packaging isn't my favorite because getting it back in there is really hard. Like it's still not all the way in and you like lose product getting it in there and now it's like kind of effed up. And also even when you do that, like the product isn't really sealed in there at all and so it still comes out. It's not my favorite component in the world. All that to say, let's put it on my face. So yeah, this being the lightest shade, okay, it just popped back into the component. That was pretty good. I'm gonna apply this with my fingers. I did it with a sponge before and it was fine, but I don't think that that's obligatory. And I did buy, I mean, this looks like it's empty because it's so white, but this is the shade 1 in the Refi concealer that I accidentally bought and it is white. So I think that just a dibbity dab of that is gonna bring us on the rails if I mix it together. Still might be a little bit peach to be honest, but we'll see. I did a lot of skin prep today, and so I'm not sure if this is like going on soupy because of that, but it feels like it's going on soupy. And it's not the Refi. The Refi dries down. If anything, it should add stability. So I'm gonna take a brush here. I'm gonna use the F43 Soft Angled Cheek Brush from Sigma. I just love the shape of this brush. And I'm gonna use that to just press it into the skin, make sure it's evenly distributed because I feel like my fingers were picking it up just as much as putting it down. But you can see the luminosity. Again, that's not skin prep and that is not the Refi. Just be aware, it doesn't get very light and it is pigmented enough that that's going to be a problem for some people because it does show up. It's not like it just blends in entirely, especially because we are talking about an SPF 30, a mineral SPF 30, not a chemical SPF 30. And so ideally, which we all know doesn't really happen, but ideally you'd be building it up to make a physical barrier because that is what a mineral sunscreen is supposed to do. And so you shouldn't be expected to rely on shearing it out in order to make the shade adapt to your skin. It should just be a good match. So I have a feeling they're going to incur some criticism on the fact that the lightest shade is probably not going to be light enough for a large amount of people. Okay. I do really enjoy this. I like this concealer a lot. I do still need to now compare this with the Jouer that I love and also the Natasha Denona because I feel like they are very similar to one another in the sense that they have that kind of more pigmented creaminess that feels, I don't want to say heavier, but more made up on the skin, but at the same time is just so effective and long wearing. They feel really similar. It's a great shade match, it is, but it's not brightening. It's almost like a foundation shade match for me. So I do feel like I want a little bit of brightening, but I don't want it to be too heavy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with my Westman Atelier because it's just so pigmented that you don't have to use hardly any in order to achieve that brightness. So I have this in Atelier 0.5. they came out with some really, again, nuanced undertones in the shade expansion. And so 0.5 is so ideal for me. That's gonna have to do for now, but you can see even like right here, I think that that's the place I notice the most when a foundation doesn't match, because I'm not gonna put a bunch of concealer right here. So I feel like the makeup is more prone to gathering right there, and so it's gonna really call out a shade match when it's off. Oh, I forgot, I also wanna use the Armani bronzer with y'all today. Anyway, we're gonna go in with the Hourglass powder here. They did also send a couple of brushes. This is in the fairest shade, translucent, so we'll just do a little bit. This is very much a bulletproof powder. I wouldn't call this comparable to like the Kosas in the sense of you can't really put on too much. Like you can put on too much of this, especially as a dry skinned person. I don't hate it, you know, it just looks a little bit made up. It's not a no makeup powder, but it is adaptable to a lot more situations and a lot more skin types. I still, especially if you have dry skin, I would still go for the Kosas or the new Laura Mercier, because I do feel like if you're not careful with this, you could end up with a very cakey face in a hurry. But it does add coverage, which can be really nice, especially when we're talking about something like, you know, an event. It doesn't have any kind of like HD quality that's going to cause flashback. It's a really, really elegant formula that photographs very, very well. I think I wore the loose Hourglass Veil powder at my wedding. Pretty good complexion, right? I think we're doing okay. I'm gonna grab Biscuit. I was going to grab Biscuit. There it is. They're always bullying each other off the desk. So I'm going to grab Biscuit here from Westman Atelier, and that's what I'm going to use as my contour real quick. Not a new product at all whatsoever. I did just feature it in my Luxury Beauty That's Worth the Money video, and I stand behind that wholeheartedly. And actually I got some updates in the comments from people. You know, I always try to be so relatable. Like, I don't know why, but in my attempt to be relatable in that video, I was like, there are minis of a lot of the Westman Atelier stick products because I love the formulas, and they're only $26. And like that could be a really accessible price point for some people who want to try a luxury product but like aren't really sure that it's like something they're going to use all the way up kind of thing, because $48 is kind of a high buy-in. And a lot of people who had, you know, experience with the brand came into my comments and said the packaging on the minis is really cheap, and I was like, ah, crap, you know. So that's just an update. Take note. Look at how pretty that is. Ooh. Yes, this is, like I said, Juicy Peach. This is really similar to RMS Mai Tai, which is one of my favorite blushes. RMS does these redimension Hydra blushes that are replaceable pans, relatively in the clean beauty space, affordable-ish. Then this middle part pops out. And so you can actually either like put a magnet in here and just buy the replacement, or you have the case and then you only ever have to buy the replacement when you run out. I love this formula so much because even though you can see they're both very shimmery, there's something about the RMS that goes on, well, at least that shade. They do have different depths, which is great. But, and so does this. We'll get to that in a second. RMS Mai Tai builds more slowly, and for whatever reason, the shimmer doesn't translate as shimmer. It translates as blur. And the Fenty is definitely like going for that, but it does end up being a little bit more highlighty. So it's like you could go too far with it. So like I was saying, this blush itself comes in 3 shades, but it's 3 shade values of the same color for different skin tones, which y'all know, because that is how I've presented my own blush collections. I'm a big fan of that concept. So this obviously is the lightest one. I wouldn't dream of trying to go deeper because it's already such like a saturated color. All right. I'm just tapping. So you get shimmer first. You don't see color first, you do get shimmer first, which is worth noting. So I want to kind of buff so that we get a little more color. It's very pretty, but it's decidedly shimmery. I shouldn't say shimmery, metallic, reflective, similar to the Rare Beauty ones. It's highlighty, you know? And I think we're moving into another era. Everything kind of comes around, and it comes around faster than it used to, but we're moving back into an era where people want their faces to be a little bit artificially reflective. We weren't doing that for a while, but here we are. But it's very pretty. I do think I prefer Mai Tai on me, but that's because Mai Tai is a little bit oranger, and this, even though it's this beautiful coral color, it still pulls quite pink on me, which is interesting. And also the stains that are left behind on my hand, it's very evident to see the backing pigment again, the difference between the two. So this being Mai Tai and it's still being so peach, and this being the juicy peach from Fenty, and it's quite like blue, you know, by comparison, like a blue pink. So take all of that into consideration. I don't want to go too hard out of the gate on blush because we are going to be applying more than one blush, possibly more than 2 blushes. So I don't want my whole face to just end up one color and you can't see what else is going on. So the Armani bronzer, this is a luminous silk bronzing powder. I really expected to be underwhelmed by this. I am loving it. There are 2 main ways to think about undertone, and one is matching your skin tone and the other is a sheer wash over it and achieving a certain color, because undertones can kind of alchemize certain blush shades. So if you think about like an olive undertone, you put something purple on it, it's going to pull pink because it has these tones that kind of cancel each other out, versus a complexion product you always want to match your skin tone, or at least I do. I'm not looking for some like those lines that say like needs cool, needs warm. I'm like, for what? For who? Are you trying to fix my skin? Just match it, you know? So bronzer is always in the middle. It's like, is it a complexion product or is it a color cosmetic like a blush? I do think of it as a complexion product, but it has more flexibility. So in this case, like this is different from a lot of the shades of bronzer that I own and wear, but I can still get away with it. And it's still very, very pretty. It just gives a different effect. But for olive undertoned people, this has the olive in it. So in the case of a bronzer, if you think of it as a complexion product, you're trying to match your undertones, this is gonna probably get you there. I cannot speak to the deeper shades. This is only the lightest one, but for my pale olives, for my medium olives even, this is really good. The only thing is it does have a touch of shimmer to it, but it is not a metallic consistent shimmer. It's almost just kind of like a spray over. I think it is a spray over, because look at where I've like swatched out of. It's matte, and then the glitter is on the top. It's so negligible. I really don't think it's a big deal, but if you're someone who like even the tiniest bit of shimmer is gonna bug you, then don't do it. I mean, it's like a $56 bronzer, but still 58 maybe. Either way, it's an enormous pan of product. I love an abundant bronzer pan, makes me very happy. And the embossing is beautiful. It's just it's like heavy, it's luxurious. It's one of, I feel like Armani's more, I don't know, complete thought feeling products in a while. And as you can see, it goes on me. I don't have olive undertones, I don't, but my skin can kind of tolerate it. I can sort of bend to fit, and that's just gorgeous. It really is, especially because, like I said, my skin is not olive undertone, but like if I were to paint a self-portrait and I were to have to mix the color that is my hair, there's a ton of green in my hair, like a lot. And so like my brows, my eyelashes, like anywhere that those colors exist where there's like hair, you know, around my face or on my face, that's going to be helped by those olive undertoned products, as long as it's not like completely over the top, because the foundations that end up being too green, I just give them to Rebecca because she is very olive undertoned, and like that's something where I like an olive undertoned foundation, I can't get away with it. But look at that. I actually really enjoy the depth of it because I still don't feel like I'm a wildly different color. So I like that. I can get a little bit carried away with it and it still looks pretty natural. Lawless. I'm going to swatch all of these Lawless blushes real quick. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you might not have seen, I unboxed all of this live when I got my Sephora order in the mail. So if you ever enjoy those kinds of things, you wanna watch a live, you know, while you're washing your dishes or doing something kind of mindless at work, I do them pretty spontaneously, but it's free to follow me on Instagram. So these, I initially thought were going to be like the Melt Blush Lights. They felt very creamy at first, but then as you swatch them, they go powdery, like silicone powdery, very similar to, someone said that they should make a blush version of the Rare Beauty bronzer sticks because it's like their best formula. And when they did make kind of a silicone-y blush formula in the form of the, what were those things? They looked like thumbprint blushes. They still make them, but like they're a flop. Sorry, they're just like really hard to use. The bronzer sticks are just such a good, I'm pointing over to my stash where it's in a drawer. That bronzer stick is so good. That's what this reminds me of. It's like someone took those and put it in a blush formula. So the shades we have here are Rosebud, Gumdrop, Starburst, and Angel. These were the two that I originally definitely wanted when I saw the release, but these two really called out to me and I just couldn't tell myself no because I just wanted to know. In my live, we went with the orange and it took us in this whole orange direction with the makeup look. I want to do something different. I'm going to go with Gumdrop because the Angel and Rosebud, they're pretty and we will go there at some point, but they are very much like that nuance. It's this thing I do all the time where it's just like that beigey, like, are we gonna go beigey mauve or beigey rose? You know, no. I wanna do something a little more exciting today, and I also wanna like take that through to the rest of my skin, the rest of my makeup, you know? So we're going to go in with Gumdrop. So yeah, Gumdrop is, she's pink, but it's like a blue pink, very similar to like a Dior, right? The Rosy Glow, or God, I mean, the list goes on. Everybody's got a version of this at this point. So I'm just gonna use a BK106 for this. I use this for freaking everything. I don't know, I just wipe it off. I'm pretty confident using this because it's so silicone-y. So it's like, you know, you put that on, but it's dry. It's not gonna move my makeup around because it's so dry to the touch. It's like putting on a cream powder, that hybrid finish, instead of something that's going to kind of like re-wet your skin, which is not a bad thing when it re-wets your skin because that's going to give that like skin texture back to your skin. But this just applies more like a powder, I guess. It's just predictable. Isn't that pretty? And it's so much better to me than like these House Labs blushes. It's not quite the same color, but this lilac color, the glassy lilac, these are really, really hard to use if you didn't watch my last New at Sephora video. When they swatch, sure, they look glassy, but they're so pigmented, you would never put that much of it on, and it's not glassy once you get it on. So here's Gumdrop next to that. And you can see, even though they're not obviously exactly the same color, we're in the same color family, where you've got that like blue undertoned pink, but obviously, you know, we go all the way to lilac instead of staying in the pink territory. Nonetheless, it's giving you that neon effect. And when I used this, it was just so pigmented and so difficult to work with. It like made my makeup look really unnatural in those spots that I applied it in. And you could see like my pigmentation through it in an unflattering way. And like, I feel like this, it builds more slowly, easier to work with, probably gonna be longer wearing because it does have so much dryness to it. And the colors are really beautiful. Like, I feel like they did some beautiful nuanced things with the shades. So I love that. That's gonna take us in a different direction. I'm gonna do a little bit up on my forehead just so that we look balanced. I've always been a fan of using a neon blush as a replacement for highlighter. I think that neon blush gives a very similar effect, especially because the eye goes to it and the light hits it differently, but it's not a textural thing. It's more of just a, you know, a color highlight. So that's lovely. A little bit weird, but lovely. So it does give you the, again, olive undertoned people, like this is a pink for you. I also want to use some of the highlighter here from Bareminerals. I went through all of these and a lot of them, just like the bronzers, are very, very pigmented. It's a case of, I, you know, own Opal Glow in the powder. And so that's the one that I want to use in the cream, the liquid, because all the other ones are darker than I would want for a highlighter or even for a bronzer on my skin. Like Kiss of Spice, it is so, I'll show you. It's like wild, you know, because you're used to the bronzers being, yes, they're a little shimmery, whatever, but these are literally like molten metal liquid highlighters. Like here's Kiss of Spice, and these are the Complexion Rescue bronzers. Yo. Like, what? That's just not what I expected. I'm not saying that color doesn't work on someone. It's just like eyeshadow level shimmery. It's extreme. So it's like that was a very, very small amount of that swatch. And even if you were to blend it all the way out, you know, on like a deep skin tone where it would blend out really beautifully and not be so contrasty, it's like super, super reflective. So it doesn't read to me as a bronzer or a blush product. It reads more to me like those liquid bronzer drops like you would get from Live Tinted. Has things like that where it's just, I don't really understand how it fits in my routine, but someone does. So anyway, here is Opal Glow. And I have, like I said, the powder in this, and this is, so there's two, right? There is the highlighting blush and then there are the liquid bronzers. So this is the highlighting blush and I'm just gonna use it as a highlighter because I love Opal Glow, the powder. It's really pretty. And see what we can get here. Sorry, experiencing some technical difficulties here, but Opal Glow it's nice. I'm really not sure that it's making any real difference here. I also noticed that it doesn't really dry down all the way. It does go to a finish that is not particularly like super eager to transfer, but it's not dried down. And do you really notice a difference between the two sides? Like I don't have it here and I do have it here. I'm really not sure that it makes any difference at the end of the day. SOCKS, baby, I don't know. Let's do some eyes real quick. This is not gonna be anything new, so I'm just going to kind of zoom through it, but I will tell y'all, you know, what products I'm using. They will be all listed down below. Let's do lips here. So this is gonna be orange. We're gonna put it on, but like the way that this look went, I'll be interested to see if it works. It smells like a fruit roll-up in the best way possible. It's so nostalgic. It really smells exactly like a fruit by the foot. It makes me want to go to the grocery store and get a fruit roll-up. This is absolutely beautiful. It does not go with this look. It's so pretty, like by itself, so pretty, but I need a slutty nude. That's what Linda calls it. Makes your lips all kind of like milky and delicious looking. So one of the best slutty nude combos there is my khaki lip liner from Thrive and my Finding Ferdinand lip gloss in, oh my God, it smells so good, in Cafe Noisette. So that's what we're going to do here. It smells like coffee. The hex codes are available for this from Finding Ferdinand, so you can get this again. Again, Cafe Noisette. And make sure when you pick the fragrance, you pick collab fragrance so that you can get the hazelnut scent in there. You'll know I love a latte makeup tonal look, and that is what we ended up with today, in spite of the fact that I literally used like a bright coral blush. Just goes to show. It's all about what you pair it with and how much you put on, you know? So, final thoughts on these products. The Fenty Skin Tint wears as well as any other Fenty product. I did not find the performance to be at all a compromise. The shades are disappointing. I don't know if all the shades are disappointing, but the fact that like so few people are going to be accommodated by this being the lightest shade, I'm like, that's fine. It's fine. But Fenty is so known for having these really wide inclusive shade ranges, and this just feels a little bit kind of like phoned in for Fenty specifically. So that's the only reason that I feel like I have the right to complain here. It's like not so much that I think everyone should include me, it's just that Miss Rihanna Fenty has always included me. That's all. I forgot to show y'all the packaging on the Fenty blush. I was so tickled by this when I opened it. I was like, wait, it's giving Pog Slammer. Is it not? For those who didn't hear me, I said Pog Slammer. Yeah, don't adjust your televisions. I did just say that. So it does really like give me nostalgic vibes. I think that this packaging is awesome. I like this product a lot, but I think that the RMS ones still impress me more. And as far as peach is concerned, I want something that is peach, not like pinky peach. My tie is going to go peacher. It's gonna go more towards orange, but if you want something that's peach, but maybe this is better for like an olive undertone or a cool tone, because, you know, as you get into things that are more orange, they're going to be more exaggerated orange on the opposite end of the undertone scale. So maybe something that has a little bit of that like cool toned blue pink behind it might be good. I cannot make any promises. I have no idea, but it does go on, it builds slowly. So it might work. I'm not gonna say I recommend it necessarily. It's a very pretty formula, and I think that it's cool that she put it in 3 shade saturation values. I love that. I don't think it's a bad product. I just think that the makeup market is so huge. I prefer a different version of this to this, and that is the Hermes. The Lawless blushes, again, we're gonna deep dive on these, but my preliminary review is heck yes. I just think they're great. You know, I love the way that they go on. I love the finish on the skin. I love the colors that she chose. And you'll know, I love the Gisou lip glosses. They took the fragrance, they did not take the fragrance out. They added a fragrance so that they don't smell like fry oil anymore. And I think that the new colors are awesome. So hopefully seeing this on my lips was helpful. Obviously it doesn't go with this look, so I took it off. But these are 10 out of 10 for me because I already loved the formula. I had one chief complaint, and that was the fry oil smell. That's not an issue anymore, and I'm a huge fan. And the Armani bronzer, I really feel like I went into a lot of detail while I was putting this on, but if you can't tell, I like it a lot. I don't know, it like seems to incorporate the color of my freckles somehow in a really natural and believable way, and it doesn't really look like any other bronzer shade that I have. So bronzer, again, exists in that sort of liminal space between a complexion product and like a color cosmetic, like a blush, and in that sense, you do have a little bit of wiggle room. I think that it works beautifully on my skin to give me a very enhanced kind of bronze, but I also think that those of you out there who do have some green in your skin, I don't think this is gonna go too orange on you. I hope. I hope. And if it does, let me know. But that's the vibe today, y'all. I'm very happy with this face of makeup. This Cafe Noisette is available on the Finding Ferdinand website. The hex codes, I'll put them below, but they're also on my Instagram. You can see them anytime. And then the khaki lip liner from Thrive is always available. And I think my link still gives you 15% off. I think it does. So any hoodles, thank y'all for watching today. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe while you are here. I will put a video up here that I think you'll enjoy. If you liked this one, I love you all so much, my current subscribers, my patrons, everybody, anybody who wants to leave me a comment and like the video. I love you so much, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.